I'm here at Roberts Field with a couple of wonderful people who know all about these wildflowers and weeds here at Roberts Field. The pond is in back of me and there's a heron back there right now. It's a great day and they're going to be telling us all about what we have here at Roberts Field. And I'm here with Chris LaRoche.
Yes.
And with Jocelyn Demuth. So Chris and Jocelyn know quite a bit about the wildflowers. So what do we have here? You were telling me a little bit about this one, Chris, earlier.
This is called Marsh Milkweed. It has in the spring when it's in bloom, it has a big purple or reddish flower on it. Oh. It's one of the chief food sources for a native butterfly called the monarch.
Oh, nice.
They've been in decline for a number of years, and this is one of their chief food sources. Oh. There's another one present, but this one is one of their favorites.
Yeah.
One of the things that is caused their decline, just one of many, is invasive species like this beautiful purple loosestrife. Oh. It has a tendency to like the same environment and push the milkweeds out, shade them, and push them away. The loosestrife is very beautiful, and it still is a nectar and pollen source for native insects and butterflies. It also has some medicinal properties. It's supposed to cure hyperthyroidism and a premenstrual syndrome.
Oh, I see.
If you drink it as a tea, but nice. I don't know that that's how much truth there is to that, but that's what they say as far as those are.
Oh.
There's also this one is Jewelweed, or it's also called yellow touch-me-not.
Yeah.
This one supposedly cures mosquito bites and poison ivy. If you take the leaves and you're supposed to chew them up and put them on your mosquito bite or your poison ivy, it's supposed to take the itch away.
Oh, I had no idea. Wow.
They have an interesting way of distributing their seeds. After the flower goes by, a little pod appears, and it gets fatter and fatter and fatter over time. Yeah. And if you brush up against it or pinch it, it disperses the seeds in a lot of different directions.
So it doesn't need bees or anything to pollinate, or whatever?
I'm not. It certainly needs bees to pollinate these flowers.
Oh,
but the seed distribution is mechanical.
Oh, I see.
This one, for instance, when the seeds grow, it has a little parachute on the end, and they float away. And this one is a little different. It's a mechanical version of the same thing, but it could toss those little seeds, up to 6 feet. And who knows how far this one could go? It could go many miles, but it's more likely to get caught up in the grass here and start there.
The interesting thing about jewelweed is that jewelweed is something you will probably find in your yard because it grows just about anywhere. Oh, whereas this is not the type of milkweed that you're likely to see in your yard.
No, I don't have any of these in my yard.
This is particular to this kind of environment.
A wet, marshy kind of.
Right. And when people think of milkweed, they only think, well, there's just one kind, but there's actually many kinds.
Oh.
And it's important for the butterflies and for the survival of milkweed as a species to have that we keep more than just the common. What's the common kind that grows in the yard called?
Common milkweed.
Common milkweed.
Wow.
Common milkweed. Just
nice.
growing.
Nice. Well, is there anything else here before we move on to Pollinator Park?
I'd like to look at a couple of things just down the way a little bit, if we could. This is a blue vervain, and it's sort of hidden in here with the rest of this purple loosestrife and some of the other greens here. But it's particularly interesting because it's one of the few fall flowering plants that are blue. These are all purples and pinks, and we see a lot of blues in New England in the spring. We see it in lupine and in violets and that sort of thing. But in the fall, we don't see it that often. And this is one of the plants that does that.
Nice. Did you say what it was called?
This is blue vervain.
Blue vervain? And it could be used medicinally, were you telling me?
Yeah, this one is reported to have been used by Native Americans as a cure for anxiety and depression.
Nice.
I guess they just used the flower and dried it and made a tea out of it.
If there were more, I'd take some home and try it, but there's not enough
I
here.
would too, to tell you the truth.
Nice.
There's another one here too. I don't quite see it, but it's also in the same. It's called Bugleweed, and it's present here, but it has the same properties as far as medicinally.
Nice.
They say that it'll cure anxiety and depression. Oh, and yeah, anxiety and depression.
Nice. And did we talk about these yet? Is this golden?
This is goldenrod.
Goldenrod.
This is this particular species is grass leaf goldenrod. It's a very important species for pollinators because it's widespread. It blooms for a long time, and it only blooms in the fall. And it's one of the last meals that the insects will get before they basically close up shop for the winter.
So do they survive over the winter sometimes?
They will.
The insects?
The insects, yes. For example, bees, their colony will survive over the winter, and this will be one of their last meals before winter.
Goldenrod.
And yes, and some butterflies do this as well.
Do the monarchs like this? Monarch butterflies?
Monarch butterflies like this, especially on their return trip. As you may know, they migrate all the way to Mexico to ride out the winter.
Wow. And then they come back in the spring or something?
Yes.
Nice.
And this is one of their favorite foods in the fall is goldenrod.
So if you have any growing on the sides of your yard or something, let it grow, right?
Leave
if you
it
want to
alone.
attract butterflies.
Right.
Sure.
And contrary to what people think, it is not an allergen. It grows often alongside with ragweed, which is an allergen.
Yeah.
But the pollen here is too heavy. It's not going to create allergies for you.
Yeah.
And there are, again, like milkweed, there's actually many different types of goldenrod, and it all flowers at slightly different times in the fall. And so again, it's good, to have different types of goldenrod in a meadow in a public space, so that way, the insects are fed throughout the week as opposed to all one type.
Yes.
So if you're driving down the highway and you see those beautiful purple fields, all purple.
Yeah, like loosestrife or
right,
something?
that's usually what it is. That's not good.
Yeah.
That's good for pollinators, but only for one small time.
Yes.
And then only a couple of insects that I don't even know, but that will eat the leaves. So
I see.
the diversity is the most important.
Nice. Well, should we head over to Pollinator Park here at Roberts Field and see what's over there?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. We're here at the Pollinator Park part of Roberts Field, and we're here with Chris and Jocelyn talking more about these weeds here at Pollinator Park. What do we have here, Chris?
This, it's a little gone by. They're at their peak in late June and in July, but it's called Spotted Joe Pieweed, and it's one of the most important native plants that provide nectar to our native bees and butterflies and other insects during that period. I wanted to point it out because when I first visited Pollinator Park and I came around the corner behind me, this was all ready to burst into bloom. And as someone who is interested in these things, it was a beacon for me. Wow. Because they're such an important pollinating plant, and they're just here by happenstance.
Wow.
And
now, even though they look dead, they're not actually dead. They're providing food for birds. So they're still very much contributing to the community of the park.
Nice.
With all their seeds.
And another important plant growing right next door is another species of goldenrod. We saw a grass leaf goldenrod previously, and this one is a gray goldenrod. It's probably one of the most common species in our area, but it's very important for fall pollinators as well. And there's another sample of jewelweed.
Jewelweed over there? Nice. Nice, thank you. Well, shall we look to another section of the Pollinator Park?
Absolutely.
Great. Well, we're here at another part of Pollinator Park with Chris and Jocelyn. So what do we have over here, Chris? Do we have a little blackberry bush here, right?
Well, these are blackberry brambles, and they're often dropped through bird droppings, and they grow wherever they find a home and provide food for birds again the following year.
Oh, the blackberries, that'd be
Absolutely.
nice. Yeah. And what else do we have here?
Well, this entire area is the natural flowering meadow that's part of Pollinator Park. and it's got a variety of native and non-native species here, and it's absolutely perfect place to start.
Yes.
It provides lots of cover for native species and food and shelter.
Nice, nice. And you were talking about maybe planting some grasses here in the future for diversity or something?
Right. One of the things that we notice here is that while it's very beautiful and has lots of color, there isn't a lot of diversity throughout this mowable area.
Yeah.
So what we'd like to do is make an assessment of what species might be present here and add some that might augment the beauty that's already present.
Yes.
You know, using some native grasses that are very important for foragers or for beneficial insects. Off the top of my head, there are a few tall grasses that would look nice in here called Indian grass or a big blue stem, maybe some switchgrass. But we don't know exactly what's growing out here now, and I'd like to see it again in the spring to see what see what's coming up.
Nice.
And we'll add some plants as needed.
Hopefully we could do that. Thank you so much, Chris. So if people want to encourage butterflies for the backyard, the goldenrod would be good, right? And letting a lot of these wild weeds and grasses grow, right?
Right.
In the sides of the yard, or even in the middle of the yard if they want.
Right. You can find some great ideas for putting native plants in your yard just with a search online. And it would give you some examples of what you might want for the type of environment you have, whether your home is shady, whether it's sunny, whether it's wet or dry. And you could select some plants that you like and make a small section of your yard for the native animals just to be able to stop and eat and take shelter.
Yes, including the butterflies you're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
And the bees come by a lot, and
butterflies and bees, and we don't know, but we are losing so many of our native butterflies and bees and native insects, to loss of habitat. And loss of habitat is basically a pristine lawn, which is referred to by many biologists as a dead zone.
Yeah.
So this is nothing where any of our natural insects can live.
Yeah.
So if you just let part of your yard just go wild,
Yes.
just start there. Now you've already created a habitat.
Yes.
And it's not like we don't need to create a habitat for bears or for wolves.
Yeah.
I mean, butterflies got to live too.
Yeah.
And this is something that we can all do.
Yes.
With very little cost. In fact, with less cost of maintaining a yard.
Yeah.
And beneficial for the environment.
That sounds fantastic, Jocelyn. Well, thank you so much, Chris and Jocelyn, for being here with us today on the Tom Christiano Show. Hopefully you'll all enjoy the full hour that we have, but it's great talking to Chris and Jocelyn. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Tom.